The name of the band is Seven Horse. I'm Phil Levitt on vocals and drums.
Joey Callio, guitar, and some vocals.
Well, tell us how this project evolved. Tell us the whole idea of Seven Horse and what your plans are.
It sort of started in 2011.
Yep.
2011. Joey and I have been playing for a long time together in a band called Dada for many years. But over the course of the last 10 years of the band's history, we were sort of stalled out as far as the creative process went. We were trying to record new music, weren't able to get it done. The energy behind the creative process had seemed to have dissipated from the band. We had been out touring a little bit. Last time we were through here, we were getting ready to go out on tour.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, Seven Horse was actually already rolling when we came in here last time.
Sure.
But really started with a phone call that I got from Joey, who had gone to a music festival in Seattle, where he lives, and seen some bands playing. And I got a call one day, and he said, "Hey man, we should think about doing something different. We should think about we could be out here in this
Environment,
in this environment, and we could be killing it. But we need to think about it in a different way, because for a long time, and if you're involved in a project for many years, as we were in Dada, you don't really think about getting out. You're trying to keep it going. You're trying to keep it alive, and the idea of just burning it down and starting over is not something that you really contemplate very often. But that was what he was thinking about, and so it got my attention. And we've been talking about different kinds of music. We've been talking about the blues a lot, and country music, classic country music. Particularly at that point, the blues. We were talking a lot about the blues and wanting to get back to the roots of what rock and roll is about. And it seemed like he'd been playing a lot of guitar. He was a bass player in Dada. I was the drummer, didn't sing much. So the next thing that happened, I guess, was we started sending each other things via iPhone. We do a lot of songwriting, long distance. And so I got this sound file via iPhone, and it was titled Meth Lab Zoso Sticker. And I thought, well, that's a pretty interesting title. And it had this pretty cool riff, that I had never heard anything exactly like this before. It was kind of a country blues riff, but it had this attitude that was pretty cool. And so I started, I spun this thing around in my head for a while, and I took my dog out for a walk. I like to write lyrics out on the street, walking my dog. And some stuff started coming to me about Meth Lab Zoso Sticker, and I kind of got a sense of, I get what this thing should be about. And sent him back some stuff, and we started doing this more and more with different lyric ideas, and it goes both ways. It's like lyrics will come from him to me. I've got, I'll sing into the phone and send him a melody, and we'll started compiling these bits and pieces of ideas, not really any full songs, but just parts. And eventually, and I don't know if I'm telling this story out of order or not, but as far as like some studio time was set aside for Dada to go in, we were still trying to record. And yet again, it kind of fell apart. It wasn't going to happen. Couldn't make it happen. And our engineer-producer said, well, why don't you guys just, if you want to use it, you guys can come in. And we thought, well, all right, let's go in there and see what happens. We got a couple of ideas. Let's just go in. We'll just go in and do something. The first day, and at that point we decided, well, we're going to make a totally different sound. He says to me, you sing. You be the lead singer, or you sing this track, and we're going to do it drums and guitar. The two-piece formula has kind of gotten popular over the last decade or so, and we thought, well, why can't we do it? And but
it didn't make any sense for me to sing at that point. It was just
going to sound. Couple of solo records.
Yeah, it was going to sound like Dada or my solo stuff or whatever. There was no getting away from that. It was going to have that thing. It wasn't going to be fresh and new. There's just no way it was going to be.
So in an attempt to make it fresh and new, I said, all right, give me the microphone. I'll do it.
Pass me the mic.
I'll do it. So we cut a song the first day. No one's ever heard it. We decided it wasn't up to snuff. The second day, we decided to do Meth Lab Zoso Sticker. And that track that we did on day 2 is the song that ended up in Martin Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street. That was kind of the jumping off point for us because things started to flow.
Right. Felt good about it at that point.
We heard that back and we thought, well, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
The vocal sounds good.
Yeah.
I can do this. And the guitar playing is great. And it's just the two of us. Let's just keep doing it. And so we kept writing, and pretty soon, then we went up to Northern California, worked at another studio for a week. And, before long, we had the first record.
Let me just interject. On both those sessions, it was one song, one day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's it.
That's
We
kind of
do-
been the formula for us
Yeah.
from the beginning
Yeah.
that we stick with. Try
Focus
to cut a
on
track.
one song and
and
get
and
it.
get
Start
it
to
done,
finish.
and then move on. Right? Yeah.
And we kind of approached it as the opposite of everything we'd done in Dada. Whereas in Dada it was this vast palette, basically free reign creatively, and any sound that you could imagine could come into the mix. And you're sort of a Beatles Sgt. Pepper approach to recording, where we're going to overdub a lot of stuff, and we're going to stack some vocals, and we're going to do we're going to stack 6 guitar parts, and it got very, especially the later records, got really involved and very indulgent. And this, because we were coming from a blues perspective, there's no room for any of that. We wanted it to be simple. We wanted it to be rhythmically direct and repetitive and groove oriented.
More of a Stones approach rather than
Yeah.
a Beatles approach.
And let's just get it. And we wanted a lot of air in the music. So that means you're not going to put all that stuff on it. You're going to put a guitar part or 2 on there, and the drum track and the vocal, and then you're going to have all this air around everything you can hear. And it sounds so much more powerful that way because you haven't sucked the life out of everything
Right.
by overdubbing and overdubbing and overdubbing. So we got into that mindset, and that allows you to work quickly because you're not thinking about French horns and kazoos. You're thinking about guitars and drums.
It also forces you to really pay attention to everything you're recording.
Yeah.
And like, if you do put a guitar track or a drum track or vocal track, that's the one.
Right.
Not just like, well, we're going to fix it, we're going to put this other stuff with it. No, it's got to stand up by itself, and that was really, it's pretty cool actually.
Yeah, you try to make
Start
a lot
getting
of
into that.
decisions in the recording process as opposed to just the mixing process. So that record was done, and we put it out in the fall of 2011, and we got ourselves out on tour. We went all the way back to the ground up for what our career was about. We climbed into a van with the 2 of us, hauling the gear. We had done a lot of bus tours and done a lot of more enjoyable kind of ways of touring, but there was no option here, so we just kind of got back into the nitty-gritty of it all and went out and did 50 dates around the country, visited a lot of radio stations, made a lot of friends, and got a single into the AAA radio chart. We had to go out and borrow money to start this thing. Personally put our names on the dotted line with a lot of friends and family and borrow some money to get it started, just like any small business. Kind of approached it as a small business as opposed to the old days when you were just an artist and you had the record label handling it. It was a completely different mindset. We approached it as a startup. So we were in debt, and we went out and spent the money, and we did make a little dent, and we were able to get that record on the charts, and we toured. And then we sort of were running out of money, and we wanted to keep doing it. So that coincided with the 20th anniversary of Dada. So I thought, well, why don't we just put them all together? We'll send Dada out there, because Dada actually can make money on the road, because we've been around so long. We'll do people want that. They want to see the 20th anniversary. We'll have that happen, but Seven Horse will open the show.
We at that point, we wanted to play. How can we
Keep
play
playing.
for more people?
Right.
How can we play to a larger audience? Well, we got to open for somebody. Well, we spent all our money. We're out of money. We can't buy onto a tour or whatever. We could possibly open for ourselves.
Yeah.
So
Which is what we did. So
It
we did
worked out.
40 dates.
So it makes for a little more work, but you
little
got a
more
built-in
work.
audience.
it was pretty
A little more
brutal.
work, but now we're in better clubs because we're playing
Right.
Dada's headlining.
Right.
Dada's drawing the crowd. A lot of people didn't even know. Some people came to the show didn't even realize it was us up there
Right.
as Seven Horse.
Right.
And then we'd come back, because there were different wardrobe, different setup, different drum set, different stage setup.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked to people afterwards, and they were like, well, they didn't even realize that was you guys.
Right.
They just saw us twice, didn't even know it. But we were able to stay out and do Seven Horse, and there was real joy in that for us. And we were also able to give people another look at Dada after 20 years, and I think that fan base really appreciated it. We got to show them what we were doing now. And then, after the end of that ended, we decided, well, I guess it's time to start working again, making another record. And right during that process is when we heard from Scorsese's people about The Wolf of Wall Street, and they wanted to use Meth Lab's Oso sticker. And that kind of changed the game for us a little bit, because that exposure that we got from that has taken us to a worldwide audience, and has made a name for this band, so much so that now we're not going out there with Dada. We're kind of leaving that in the rearview mirror, and we're going to
Put a nice validation touch to
Yeah.
what we'd already done.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. Gives
Now,
a
who
lot
was
of
the
credibility.
champion? Who took the song over to that camp over there? I mean, what was the process? Who
It's a fascinating
clicked
story.
Yes.
the trigger?
We don't know. All I can tell you is that I was waiting in line to buy some wine, and I was doing what I often do, checking my email while I'm waiting, like everybody else, and I see an email titled Martin Scorsese wants to license song Meth Lab Zosa sticker for movie Wolf of Wall Street. And mind you, I live in Seattle now, so I'm a little out of maybe everyone in LA knew there was a movie Wolf of Wall Street. He'd been working on it for a year. I didn't know. I thought it was like a scam. I thought it was like, put your social security number here and your telephone
Nigerian
number.
email.
We'll let you
Exactly.
know if you can get into this movie. So I sent it to Phil, and all I said was, "Is this real?" ?
Right. Well, I immediately got on and looked up Wolf of Wall Street. It's like, yeah, there is a movie in production called Wolf of Wall Street.
Right.
Followed up on the email, and it was a clearance person, a sync clearance person saying, I represent Scorsese. We want 13
Yeah.
minutes of your song.
Super nice lawyer,
Wow.
actually. She was great. She really
and,
was.
give us-
and you never know who got it to them.
We have no idea.
We still don't know.
That song got
Nobody
a lot
was waiting for a commission.
No, nobody was waiting for a commission. That song
Wow.
got a lot of play on Sirius satellite radio. They played it on the Loft.
Could have
quite a
heard
bit.
it that way.
And somebody from his camp. Now we did know that after doing a little research, Scorsese himself finds a lot of his own music. He's out there listening and looking for stuff. Randall Poster is his longtime music supervisor. He worked on the movie. Robbie Robertson from the band worked on this movie. There's always could have been an editor down the food chain who's sitting there like, we need a temp song to drop into this thing. All right, I like this thing. I'll put it
Right.
in. And then he hears it and goes, hey, that's working. Let's keep that.
Wow.
But we never found out. We tried to dig into it, and nobody could give us the real.
On top of everything else, that was like about in July, I think, when that happened.
I'd say June, I think.
She basically said, this lawyer said, look, I'm just going to give you some inside dope. You're cut into the movie as of right now,
Right.
okay? But we can't tell you anything for sure for another few months, so hang tight. So it was basically months of just like, oh
First
my God.
First you have to give him a quote.
Right.
We don't have anybody representing us.
Right,
So
how
it's like,
much?
well, how much is it? What do you need? What
Oh,
do you
they
want?
didn't make an offer.
No,
They asked
give us
you,
a
what
quote.
did you want?
Give us
Right.
a quote for that.
Which is
So-
an opportunity for us to ruin the whole
Yeah.
damn
So I started
thing.
making calls around town, like, how much should I ask for this
Right.
thing? And I got advice that had a huge spread.
$100,000
Yeah,
spread.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
a gigantic spread.
Right.
And I also heard through the grapevine that they don't want to negotiate. You give them a price, if it's too high, they're going to pass.
Right.
That was basically the word I got.
Yeah, one shot.
One shot.
One shot.
You better get it right. So I kind of took all that information, sort of, looked at it and went, all right, I'm going to go here in the middle. And I gave him a number. And she said, okay, I'll take it to, the line producer who's in charge of the budget, and we'll see what happens. And, you won't hear from me for several months.
I think a couple months went by, and there was just an update. Here's the update. Some bands that were in
Are
back
out,
when you were in are out.
You're still in.
That's all we knew.
And it went on and on. It went all through the summer.
Right.
In the meantime, we started recording this new record. We were back up in Northern California. We went. We did some here in LA. We went out to Milwaukee and recorded. And it was after the final day of recording the new record that
In Milwaukee.
Yeah, in Milwaukee, we were at the airport. I was viciously hungover that day because we
Big
had
celebratory
yeah, we
night.
celebrated. So I'm sitting in the Milwaukee airport trying to get a Coca-Cola down, and a text message comes in on his phone from his brother,
Right.
and it said,
Congratulations on the Wolf of Wall Street. I just saw the YouTube
the trailer.
trailer on
Right.
YouTube, and I'm all, what? You know, what did you see? Tell me what you heard, everything. And I'm not saying a word to him until I know 100%, 100%. And my brother, he's probably at work or whatever. He's not like getting right back to me. So, 20 minutes felt like about an hour.
In the meantime, we had been contacted by Paramount Pictures as well. They wanted a license for the trailer
That's
itself.
right.
But it was the same deal. It's like we're looking at several songs.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
We'll let you know. That's how
Right.
it works. It's never just like you're in.
You're in it.
So that was the day we found
So
out.
they could use it in the trailer, maybe not the movie.
It's
They
possible.
could, yeah.
It
They
could,
could.
or the movie, not the trailer,
Mhm.
or neither. I mean, we didn't
Right.
know what was going on. And then, but we did hear that day that we were in the trailer because obviously the movie wasn't out yet. That was October. That was Halloween.
Right.
And we started to feel a little bit better about things, but we didn't really know we were in the film itself. The film came out Christmas. It was supposed to come out in November, then it got pushed back to Christmas. And, that we just waited and waited. And still, it was really like a week or two before the release of the film that we kind of got the word that, all right, you're in.
That was a big day. Well, that day at the airport was huge. First off, your hangover, I think, was really
Yeah, it
helped
helped.
significantly. And then on that same tour, that was the Seven Horse Open for Dada tour.
No,
No, that was just a straight
it
Dada
was
tour.
we were just out there trying
But
to make a few
we
bucks.
did the recording during Seven Horse did the final two recordings on a break during the Dada tour in last fall. That's right.
Yeah.
On the show in where is that place, that sit down kind of
Oh, up there in
New Hampshire or something like that?
Yeah, Londonderry, New Hampshire.
Yeah, that was the night we found out for sure we were in the movie.
Right. So that was, it was really exciting and, nerve-wracking summer. But in the meantime, we made this other record. And now we're getting ready to put it out and we're trying to get back on tour and focus solely on this project. With all that behind us, we have a much better story to tell than we did the first time around.
Sure.
I mean, I was already happy about, because we had the new record
Right.
was making me happy enough. It was like, wow, this is really great. Then the Wolf of Wall Street thing happened. It was like, oh my God.
Yeah, what a bonus.
Yeah. It's like a little push.
It's just, it's just a
boost.
calling card. It's a great
Yeah.
calling card. I mean,
Right.
it's
No,
it's
it's-
that song, that movie's going to be around forever. We're in
Yeah.
it forever. We're on
Right.
the soundtrack. We're
Right.
on the trailer.
Yeah.
We're up against, we're sitting next to Howlin' Wolf and Bo Diddley on the soundtrack.
Right.
And, some classic, Elmore James is on the soundtrack, and us. There's only, there's really Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings have a cover of Goldfinger that is on the soundtrack. They were in the film very briefly. But as far as a song that kind of represented the movie, they used it on the Golden Globes for the clip. They used it on the Oscars for the
Right.
clip.
For the drop. That's what Chris calls it.
Our song is basically the key song of the
Yeah,
film.
the theme.
The theme.
Plus, we were in it. I mean, there were certain songs that were in that movie for 10
Yeah.
or less seconds.
Mhm.
This song is only 3.5 minutes. It was in the movie for about 6 minutes.
Yeah.
It kept coming back.
It was a tremendous
awesome.
break. Tremendous break.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Fantastic.
And again, it's nothing you were really pushing. It just
No,
Oh,
it just came
fell
from
in-
you
fell
know,
out of the sky.
you're the right song at the right time.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we had somebody who was out there trying to pitch our stuff for syncs, and got nothing. Got totally shut out.
And they didn't take credit for that one.
No, she couldn't because it came directly to us, and she hadn't pitched us for this film.
Yeah.
We released that song as a single, and we did get some play, as I said, on satellite radio and internet radio, but commercial radio totally didn't touch it. I mean, they would. They
the
were
word meth lab in it.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
title alone, and then a lot of the lyrics have a pretty serious kind of old school kind of sexual innuendo, double entendre kind of thing, and people just found it a little off-putting. I guess they didn't play it, but after it gets into the film, it changes the perspective on the song completely, and it's our calling card, it's our signature tune.
Amazing. And tell us where the name Seven Horse comes from.
Well, Seven Horse, I'm from Las Vegas originally. I grew up there. My family is all from Chicago. Everybody was in the gambling business. It goes back with my grandfather back into the 20s. And one of his hobbies, when he wasn't standing in a casino, he would be at a racetrack or a sports book. He played the horses pretty much every day of his life for 60 years. Even at the end of his life, I used to take him, sit him down at the sports book, and he would bet everything, all across the country. One of his bets, 20 on the 7 horse to win. So it's a little nod in that direction. We felt it represented the sound of it. We liked the look of it. We thought it represented the style of the band. There's a the gambling, country music, early rock and roll. It just seemed to fit together.
Mhm.
It's hard to get a name.
It is. It's
course.
still,
really
it's still
hard.
hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
So it really came together when we put the 7 and the H together. It doesn't look quite as good as the number 7 and the word horse, but when you put the 7 up next to the horse, it looks like a band name. So that's it.
That's fantastic. So in a sense, you could still keep Dada alive and come and do this other project, even though your passion was to try something new.
Yeah. Well,
the band never broke up in a sense.
No, we had to go back. We had to go back to Dada to keep this thing going. At a certain point, we wanted to keep playing, so we went back to Dada. Now it feels a little different because now we've had some success with this, and the desire to go out there. And we did an anniversary tour, where we kind of had a whole retrospective on everything that Dada did.
Bit, yeah.
And it was never for me, and I think for Joey as well, it was never a desire. A lot of the bands, people that came up at the same time that we did, that were in successful bands in the mid '90s, they're still out there doing it. Maybe they haven't put out a record in years, or if they have, nobody paid any attention, and they're out there playing their hit or hits in the fair and festival circuit and the casinos and that kind of thing. That really wasn't what we were ever really wanted to do in music. For us, the creative spark, to me, is really what makes a band current and relevant. If you're just playing your old songs over and over again, if you're just going to go out there and play the same set over and over again to go out there and make some money, I don't have anything against it,
Nothing wrong
but
with
it's
it.
not what I want to do.
Yeah.
The creative end of it.
You just feel like a jukebox just playing
it's just not.
oldies.
We feel like we're not at that point in our lives.
You're
where
not
we're
looking
ready to-
forward
Yeah,
at
we're-
that point.
We're still kind of peaking. We're not like our best days are not behind us.
Yeah,
They're in
yeah.
front of us.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing we can do is push our chips into the go all in on this thing, to use another gambling metaphor, and leave the past behind a little bit. It's a hard thing to do, and a lot of people don't want you to do it. You've got fans who don't want that. They like the thing that you did 20 years ago, and that's their nostalgia, and that's the best days of their lives, and it means a lot to them to hear those songs, and I can understand that. But I can't do it for that. I can't do it just for them. We got to do it for ourselves, and we're earning new fans on this new music. And if you can do that, there's no reason to stay sitting in the past. Especially when you've got energy, you're not jaded, you're not burned out from the road. You haven't. In the face of everything that has happened to us up and down in our career, we've still got energy and passion for it. So why sit it on the bench? Get out there and do it. That's kind of where we're at with it.
Yeah. And talk a little bit about the changes in the industry, where there are very few labels out there, very few record stores in a sense, and why you've decided to just DIY it, pretty much deal directly with the fans and, keep building that leverage, from the film into your new music.
Well, certainly, as you just pointed out, the business has completely changed from the time that we came up in it. And in those days, you had, as the artist, you really had no clue what was going on the business side. You had a manager, it was his department. He would give you information on a need-to-know basis. Most of it you didn't need to know,
Or they didn't want you to know.
They didn't want you to know. You were probably being robbed blind, most likely, as many artists were. But at the same time, you weren't really that even concerned about it, because you were young and you're living the dream, and you're just so happy to be there doing what you always envisioned in your mind. You're on the road, you're on tour. The money, where is it? I don't know. Who cares? Let's just keep going. And then eventually, that gravy train, they're giving you just enough to keep you alive. It's a step above, like, here's your Cadillac, thanks for playing. That's how they used to do it in the 50s. In the 90s, you're on advances and you're just getting enough to keep keep your dream alive that someday you're going to get there, even though you're never going to get any record royalties. And if you don't have the publishing, you're just completely screwed. You didn't even realize that or care, because you're out. You know, I mean, we were out on the road touring with Sting and, you know, seeing the world.
Yeah.
Now it's completely different. The machine is, you know, it's a much smaller major label situation. They're not interested, at least especially when we first started this thing without any Wolf of Wall Street. Nobody's going to be interested in us. We're not what they're looking for. They're looking for 16-year-old girls that they can put a team of writers and producers on and try to get a single that sounds like everything else on the radio. So we don't really have a choice. And we just decided, well, we want to do this. We're going to have to figure out a way. And it was, you know, it's playing catch up, getting a grip on how to run it in this environment. The social media side of things, running the business end of things has been something that I've had to, you know, take a crash on the job training course in. And now I'm starting to feel like I got a handle on it. And you know, for a while we were looking for, well, we need a manager. Let's get a manager. Let's find somebody to get in here and do this thing. And you know, well, I still wouldn't necessarily be opposed to it if I could find it. But now it's a little different. It's not, you know, there isn't going to be somebody who's going to come in riding in on a white horse and save your ass. You know, you got to do that for yourself. You've got to take control of your own destiny, your own life, in your career, and own it, and make some decisions, and be responsible for what it is that you're doing. And it makes it even more important to you. It makes it more real. It's like the stakes are right there in front of you. You know how much this tour is going to cost, and if it's worth it to go. We were just having a conversation about this just right before we got here. You know, I've hired a team of people, radio, promo people, I mean, all the parts, the component parts that used to be in-house at the record company, all those people are out on the street now, and they're all for sale. They all hung a shingle out, and they're all independent operators, and you can hire them. Just like you had them on your team when you were signed to the major label, now you can have them on your team. The difference is, now you're running it. You know, now we're running the team.
You take the profit or loss.
We take the profit or loss, we pay the bills, we sign the checks, we give the praise, we make the criticisms, we, you know, we fire, we hire. That's and we bonus, and that's how it works. Everybody from the guy who hauls the gear to the guy who's talking to the radio station to, you know, the publicist to the marketing guy. I mean, everything. So we're running a little record label with one artist on it. That's us. And it's a full-time job. It's a full-time, everyday pursuit. But when you have some success, it's very satisfying because you get to take credit for everything that you did. You know, you get to own your business, and it's really the way for independent artists. That's how you have to operate these days. You know, and if you're smart enough to do it, it's worthwhile to do.
Yeah, you got some skin in the game, so if
That's
it succeeds, it's on your merits. You can't blame anybody else.
Right. Well, if you blame him, you got to fire him. That's it. But you know, at the same time, if you can build your thing, if you can make it, you know, if you can get it to a point where it's a profit-making machine, they're going to come. You know, then other people are going to come to want to invest and get a piece of it. You know, and so that's kind of what we're doing. If they don't come, then we'll keep it all. But you know, you look at like a Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. You know, that's kind of that's a model. I mean, it's a totally different kind of music. You know, much younger than us, but the model is right there. You know, own it all. They did a licensing deal. They took the money instead of putting it in their pockets. You know, they did like an $80,000 sync license is what I heard for some kind of commercial in Japan or something. They took the money, put it right back into the project.
That's what we're doing.
Made the next record, started selling it, made a deal with a distributor, never did a deal with a label, won a Grammy. You know, it was the biggest record of the year last year.
Million sold.
So you know, and the difference for them on what they can take from that. I mean, they got the master, they got the publishing.
Yeah.
You get both sides of that, you're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to sell 10 million records to do it.
And these days, if you're a headliner at festivals and arena tours, I mean,
You're making huge.
the money is way bigger than it was before.
Right. So you know, that's now whether we get to that level or not, that's the business model.
But it's possible.
It is possible.
They did it.
Why not?
Anyone can do it. It's great music connecting with a
Right.
fan base.
I think the cool thing too is like, you, in the old days when it was, you're the artist and the record company is in some vast castle up on the hill that you, some days they open up and let you in and they shake your hand and then that's it and you're out. Any incremental increase in success is huge. It's a huge win. We don't need to like have some fantastic royalty check come in from a record company to feel like we did it. If we could just start making a little bit of money and do what we want, and every click up from that
Well,
is
that's
fantastic.
and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, the Wolf of Wall Street, we got paid for that.
Right.
And we put the money back into the business,
Yeah.
as you would, in any startup early on. You're not going to start taking profit out while you're still building it. But those kind of opportunities are out there, and that won't be the last one. That's how we feel. And
I think it feels better though now, right?
Right.
I mean, you are every little bump
Sure.
up. It's like it's so rewarding.
But
Yeah.
back to those guys though, it does take some courage to do it because, I think part of their story is that
The
at some
Macklemore
point they got offered a deal, but it was
Oh, yeah.
like
Right.
for $100,000 or something,
Right. Turn
which
it
is a
down.
lot of money,
Yeah.
and they turned it down because they had enough faith in what they were doing that they saw a bigger future for themselves and they wanted to continue to own it. And never before has it been so clear to me. I mean, I didn't even understand in the days gone by the whole idea of owning the master versus just the public. What is it? I didn't even get it.
Right.
That it's it's half the
Yeah.
revenue center. I mean, it's like,
especially in a big movie, the master
Yeah.
in sync is what they're paying for.
exactly. So now I get it. I get it a lot more than I did before, and thankfully for us, we have all of it.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens down the road. We'll see how big we can get it. And if you're standing on the precipice, I mean, there's a certain point where if you've got it to a certain level, if that machine still kicks in behind you, you can really go. The distribution, which is what they did. But they never actually sold the master.
Sign the rights over.
And I think that was a brilliant move on their part. I mean, obviously, it's a brilliant move on their part. But it takes some balls to
Oh,
do
yeah.
that. It takes
No
some
question.
balls.
I mean, the record companies forever have preyed on the fact of the starving musician
Exactly.
would flip out over $100,000 check.
Right.
They sign their life away.
That's
They don't
right.
even know what they're signing, but
give me the
please,
paper.
where's the
I'm ready
check?
to go.
Where's the
Yeah.
check?
Right.
What do I got to do?
I mean, literally, the Cadillac.
That's how these billion-dollar corporations have been built.
The difference is though, the Cadillac you actually got it. Well, I guess it's the same.
Well,
You have
the
to.
money,
Do you have
but
to
I mean,
pay the money back on the Cadillac?
Cadillac, but that would
when,
be it.
When they give, but when
That's
they
the
give
end of
us the money back in those days, it's like, here's your check,
Right,
here's
they're
your
a bank.
paycheck, and then off to the side, it's like, and here's how you're gonna pay us back
Correct.
with interest on the money we just paid you. It's incredible. There's
Yeah.
no free and clear money
No.
until
the
you
worst-
get to some stratosphere
Right.
that's almost impossible to get to on a.
I mean, they had it. What a racket!
Smaller-
I mean,
Yeah.
They really had it.
No, I mean, the worst
What's the
analogy
right
is
dollar?
a wise man told me, it's like taking a loan out for the house. You pay the house off,
Right.
but they still own the
Right,
house.
Exactly.
Yes,
It just doesn't make any sense. But
What bank would operate on those terms?
those guys, the guys who came up with this idea, were geniuses, and they took advantage of a lot of people in doing it, and then they screwed it up and lost the house. They lost their way, and now they don't have it anymore not nearly to the degree they once
Sure.
did, because we're out here. We
Yeah.
actually exist.
You can go right around them.
Go right around them. Yeah,
To the
exactly.
fans.
You go right around them, but you have to go right to the fans. And so it's a different thing on that level now. The connection that you have to have with the fans is completely different than it used to be, because you're doing the marketing is a one-to-one almost. So and that has a lot of upside to it, because people care about the music so much more because it's coming right from you to them.
They know an A&R guy didn't tell you what to play.
Right. I mean, exactly. So it's just a different world out there. It's an interesting experience for us because we've seen it from both sides. A lot of
Yeah.
people coming up today never knew about what it was
Sure.
like, back in the day. We've seen it from both sides, and we've had success in both
Mm-hmm.
eras. So I feel like there's not too many people doing it like we have done it. I mean, not
Yeah.
too many people that were around back then who had success that would put it all aside to start over. with a new name and a new brand and go out there and do it on their own. It just doesn't happen very often.
Well,
So-
it's not that it doesn't. It's not like you can just say we're going to do that, and then not have that like completely affect the rest of your life. Like you
Yeah.
can't just decide to do it and not have any consequences in your life. I mean, we decide to do it. There are consequences to our just regular day-to-day life
Yeah.
to do this. I mean, that's why it's so hard for people to
Well,
do
yeah,
it. You've
it's
got to
okay.
give
You know,
something
if,
up.
Yeah.
If you've got a solid career going, playing fairs and casinos and making money doing it, why would you walk away from that? I mean, it's the same thing. You just want to be out there playing. For us with Dada, it was a little bit different because Dada certainly made money, but it wasn't just a money machine. It was, we were still kind of, because we hadn't made any music. I mean, there's so many things wrong with how that thing was run that we're trying to avoid now. That's
Yes.
the other benefit that we have is we've made a lot of mistakes, so we can avoid them with Seven Horse. Hopefully we've
Yeah.
lightened up a little bit.
Right.
Well, it's a new day and time, and it's exciting to be able to, again, almost come full circle when these blues guys made the music for the pure love of it.
Right.
They didn't even know what a record company was, but when somebody came along offering them the Cadillac, why wouldn't I take it?
Right. Exactly.
But now, it's, like I say, it's incremental, but every 1,000 units you sell, that's a reason to celebrate because, that's an achievement and that's money coming back to fuel the next level.
That's right.
As opposed to a record company, they're not getting excited about another 50,000 sold.
Right. No, it's got to be huge, or else forget
Yeah.
it. Or else we're not interested. We're not
Their boss's boss is looking
Yeah.
for 7 figures.
The only way that this works really is if it's a full 100% passion play. I mean, you've got to love this
Yeah.
to take all the abuse. I mean, you've got to
Yeah.
love it. It's got to be, the milk and honey of
Yeah.
what you need to survive, which it is. This
Yeah,
is all we are
For us,
all about it.
I mean, we've been playing music since we were single-digit kids. I mean, that's how we live.
Right.
That's been. It's like every single day of my life from when I was 4 or 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of music is in my head or coming out of me, or I'm playing or listening or thinking about it. I mean, every day for your whole life. So you get, if you're in that kind of a mindset, it's a pretty easy decision to make, really, to continue to do it because it's the only thing that feels really natural and right to do. Couldn't think of anything else. I mean, I've done other things in my life, but
I swear, if you don't have that, do not do it. Because it's not a good bet. I mean, it's a really long shot. Real long shot. I mean, everything's a chance in life, but there are different odds in, what chance you take. And this is a long shot, so.
but we're really excited to be putting out a new record on June 10th, Songs for a Voodoo Wedding. A record that was influenced by a trip to New Orleans that took about a year ago. Same songwriting process, sending stuff back and forth, getting it to a certain point where it's, like half cooked, getting into the studio, cooking it on the day. By the end of the day, it's on the table.
You're making me hungry.
Right? I love the food.
Yeah.
I've just come up with a new food analogy. We made our record in 12 days. It takes 6 months to put it out, but you can record it in 12 days. That's another interesting thing. It's
Right.
like
Yeah.
the process of getting it out, dealing with the manufacturer, the
Yeah.
artwork, the setting it up, getting it ready, all that stuff that you never had to think about back,
Yeah.
a while ago when the label was doing it all. But the recording process was like, it was a real joy. It was really fun this time.
Yeah.
Really fun.
Now these days you have all these festivals, what's been happening for years in England and Europe now with the Coachellas and Bonnaroos and outside lands, and besides the headliners, they're looking to fill the roster.
Right.
They need multiple acts. So now all of a sudden an act like you are very viable, to be somewhere in the
so.
bill.
I think so. We need a great, fantastic booking agent. That's what we need.
That's the thing
That's
about
the next piece in our
the
puzzle.
business. Right now, I think the booking agent has never been more important than they are right now, because they've got the relationships with the talent buyers. It's pretty difficult for me to pick up the phone and call, Live Nation and get somebody to respond to my call. Although I did get an email from a guy at Live Nation in England saying, "Hey, your song is doing pretty well here. Are you guys coming over?" But it sounds like an easy thing to do. Let's go tour in England. But you know, there's a lot of logistics and preparation that needs to be done on something like that, and you got to have somebody who knows his way around, and you've got to have somebody who is a salesman to pitch your stuff to these buyers who are putting together these festival shows. But I think it's only a matter of time for us. You know, the more
Right.
as we raise our profile and get our second record out, you got to keep proving it to the whatever the establishment is, and in this case, the talent buying establishment. There still is kind of a machine there. You know, it's not like
Yeah.
a bunch of disconnected individuals. Everybody's talking. There is an industry there, the live concert industry, and you've got to prove to people that you're for real and you're not going to just be gone in 2 minutes. That you know, and that's why a second record out, song on the radio again. Just made a video 2 days ago that's going to come out. I mean, you got to keep doing these things and keep on putting yourself in their face until it's finally like, geez, I've seen this thing all over the place now. They're on the movie. They got a song on the charts. They go, oh, this video is pretty cool. Hey, let's get them on
Impression.
Outside Lands.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a perfect fit. So it's, you know, you might, for us, when we got the Wolf of Wall Street, we had a moment where it's like, fantastic, this is it. Boom, we're going to roll from this. And then it's like, no, that's not actually. It's a great moment for us, and yes, it has a lot of impact.
It's one step.
It's a step.
One step.
You got to keep taking steps, and eventually you push this boulder over the top of the hill, and it starts coming down the other side, and then things start to open up for you. But you know, along the way of that push up the hill, it can get very trying, and it's very appealing to go, let's cash out, take the money from the movie, and just go lie on the beach for a while. But if you do that, it's over. And so you have to be able to have the determination to continue to push it, even though you think, well, we deserve it. We should already be there. You know what? You're not there. You know, here's a wake-up call. You're not. Yeah, you were in the movie, but you're not where you're going to need to be to make this thing happen on the level that we envision it. So it's constant gut check of how much can you know? What are you made
the
of?
sacrifice, the
Yeah, what are you made of?
dedication.
Right.
How much and if you decide in advance that I'll put up with anything. There's nothing that will stop me.
That helps.
You're going to get there.
Yeah, indestructible.
Yeah, you got to have that attitude. You will get there if you have that attitude, because that's really what stops people is you quit.
Well, really, as an independent, only you can say it's over.
That's right.
There's not a record company
good
that
point.
can drop you.
That's right.
You know. In closing, what other little tips would you give to that band, that young writer? They're in a garage right now. What do they need to focus on?
Sort of what you guys were just touching on. I mean, I tore something out of a magazine, like BAM or something, when I was a kid.
Bam.
It was like, it was this, where they put something in larger font,
Bold.
it was an excerpt from a larger article. All it said was, in the music business, there are no losers, only winners and quitters. Tore that out. I mean, it's so true. It seems so easy, but it is true. If you really want it, really, 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 you just have to take that attitude forever, and it'll work itself out. You have to have a certain amount of talent. I mean, let's be honest.
Talent is a component.
It is
it's
a
not
component.
the only
It's
piece,
not the only
though.
component, and there's also different percentages of talent. You could have a certain percentage of talent, and yes, you might need some other talented people to help you. It can happen, but it's really about drive. That's more important.
Yeah. I'm a big boxing fan.
Yeah.
I love the sweet science. Floyd Mayweather is one of the greatest fighters of all time. Some people love him, some people hate him. He's undefeated. He's multiple weight classes. He's won
How
belts.
can you hate that guy?
Well, because he's cocky and he doesn't fight the
He's
guys
a boxer
that-
and he's cocky?
yeah,
Wow,
right.
that's scary.
But his motto, hard work, dedication.
Yeah.
That's what he says. That's what they say in the gym over and over again, and it totally applies here. The other thing is, I think as a songwriter, I wouldn't sit around my house trying to dream stuff up. That's not really where it comes from. You got to live. You got to
Right.
go out and do some things.
Right.
Have some experiences in life, and then just kind of be open to what's going to come out of those
Right.
things. That's where a lot of the stuff that I wrote for this record. I went to New Orleans on this trip with this in mind. I need to go do something. I need to go see something. I need to be in a different scenario. And I don't know what I'm going to do next time, but it's happened to us on the road. Something happens on the road. It's a song. You get the inspiration from all over the place. Things you read, things you films that you see, books you read. You need to have some life in
You-
order to write about things.
You said something that's really true too. You can't sit around and worry and think about it and force it to happen.
No.
You have to learn how to become a divining rod. You know, so you go experience it, but you've got to let it come to you. You have to. It's
Yeah,
okay.
you're not out there walking
Yeah.
around the streets of New Orleans with a notebook trying
No.
to write everything
No.
down and like this is going to be a song. You're just out there living.
Right.
And then one day you're walking the dog 3 weeks later, and all of a sudden it pops into your head.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of how it happens for me. I think that's how it happens for Joey, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of people. And you don't know where it comes from. People, you've heard this. It's kind of cliche. You've heard it from a number of people. You know, songs just come to you. It is kind of how it happens. Though.
Yeah.
It's weird. Things just pop into your head from seemingly nowhere. Some event triggers something, and so I think for a young band, you got to have both of those things going on. That intense kind of hard work, that work ethic, willing to basically do whatever it takes.
The more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
Too, on the writing side.
Yeah, you tend to start recognizing that feeling that you have to be in,
Right.
and you can get yourself into that space a little bit easier. So that would be it for me. Those are the two things, and you better, you know, have your fun, live it up.
Yeah.
No problem with that. You know, rock and roll is supposed to be fun. You can't. You're not a priest. You know, you don't have to be a choir boy, but you got to take the business seriously because it's your bread and butter. So pay attention to the details. This is Joey Calio, Phil Levitt from the band Seven Horse. You might know us from our song Meth Lab So-So sticker featured in Martin Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street. It can happen to us. It can happen to you because you have indie power.